Rolling, it's the Major League World Heavyweight Champion, your boy Hammer, Alexander Hammerstone, and you are turning in to True Heel Heat. And if you turn it off, I'll hit you with the Nightmare Pendulum.
Oye, te habla tío Sabio Vega. This is Sabio Vega and you watching True Heel Hit a mi manera o pa' la calle.
What's up, guys? It's Wolverine, Death Machine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, and you're watching True Heel Heat. Who better? Nobody.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and my boy Romeo's Twitter for our TNA Slammiversary 2024 review, breaking down last night's major pay-per-view event from TNA Wrestling, as only we can here on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. And to do that, I am not joined by anybody. I am running solo, folks, because if no one's gonna do it with you, you gotta do like Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. You gotta do it yourself. And I'm here to discuss TNA Slammiversary 2024, and it was a huge show, the biggest TNA event as far as a live capacity crowd in over 10 years, 4,000 plus jam-packed into Montreal, Quebec, Canada to see TNA Slammiversary, and boy, oh boy, did they see a major show. 4 title changes on the card, including the top prize in TNA wrestling. We had a heel turn, we had a return, we had a WWE legend showing up out of nowhere to reenact one of the most controversial moments in wrestling history. And hey, I saw a bunch of my favorites in action, and I saw a bunch of my favorites get the win. So we got to talk all about it. It was a crazy show because of the power outages and the global IT issue, which caused a lot of changes to the show. But we'll get into that as we go along. But thank you if you're joining us live. I appreciate if you're watching us live. I appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. This is a little bit later in the day than we usually do these pay-per-view reviews. I had to do some work this morning. I woke up early, did some work, had to watch the kids at the same time. And I did a review. Check out the Fightful main channel. I did a review last night with my main man, Rick Ucchino. We reviewed AEW Collision live on the Fightful channel. So I had to kind of look at both shows at the same time. So I did also need time. That's why we're doing it later in the day. I'm explaining everything. Doing it later in the day because I needed time to actually sit down and watch the show by itself, isolated, watch a couple of matches back and some great matches on this show that we're going to discuss today. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us. Show that appreciation back. The simplest way possible is by dropping a thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We do pay-per-view previews and reviews for every major show when it comes to WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA. We're going to be doing a preview for Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor next week. So this is the place where we cover all of professional wrestling. If you need an up-to-date look at everything going on, if you need a hot take or an opinion on anything going on in professional wrestling, the True Hill Heat YouTube channel is where it's at. So that's why you need to hit the bell, because we're here pretty much 7 days a week. I'm on YouTube too much, but a lot of times here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. But most of all, if you're watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, I love to interact with all of you, especially when I'm doing these shows solo with the Dolo on my own. I appreciate y'all sounding off in the live chat. I will try to highlight as many of your comments as possible because you are my co-hosts here. But most of all, if you want to show your appreciation to all the work I've been doing, whether it be on the Wrestle Talk website, whether it be on Fightful main channel, Fightful Overbook, Sportskeeda Wrestling, the best way you can support me is by sending a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. I will highlight your comment on screen with us here, but most of all, it goes back to the contributors, and it's me on my own, so I don't have to split it with anyone. So come on, guys, show those appreciation. Or do I have to wait for my daughter to bring in some weird drink and goat ya into giving me larger super chats to make me drink it? Please don't let me have to do that again, because it was a tough day after True Hill Heat's flagship podcast yesterday. So go over and check that out as well. We got Eric Isaacs in the chat with us today. Thank you so much, Eric Isaacs. Always pretty much the first person who always is sounding off in the live chat nowadays. Appreciate you, Eric. He says, hey guys. He says, hometown heroes, speedball, and PCO win. He says, the system is falling apart. Grace and Ash put on a surprising show. Josh screws Hendry, and the Wanted Man is the new champion. I did not expect that we would get this many title change. I think I did suspect that we were going to get a PCO win, a speedball win, because we were in Montreal. I thought that the system would hold on to at least one of their titles. I didn't know if they would hold on to both, at least one of their titles. I was fairly certain before I did the preview that ABC would win back the tag team titles, but I think on our preview, I predicted ABC breaking up instead of winning the tag team title, so I was wrong there. And I think on True Hill Heat, I did predict AJ Francis to win, only because he's a fan of Def Slim Shady. So check out our interview with AJ Francis, my good friend. We got Dro Davion, who says in the chat, I hope Nic Nemeth will be champion for a while now. I predicted Nemeth to win the TNA World Championship back at Rebellion in April. So then flash forward, and I think we did talk about it yesterday on the True Hill Heat flagship podcast, me, Chrissy, and JJ, when we were giving our final predictions. We said the three people that had the potential to win that six-way matchup was Moose retaining, Joe Hendry, because he's the hot hand right now, and Nic Nemeth. And I think Chrissy predicted Moose to retain. JJ predicted Joe Hendry. And there was a part in my head that was like, you should pick Nic Nemeth. So we're all picking the three different major options to win the matchup. And I didn't listen to it. I said that Moose would retain, and I was wrong. I should have listened to that little voice in my head that was telling me, pick Nic Nemeth. TNA's not going to do the title change when you want it. They're going to do it when it's the biggest surprise, when it's a big surprise. And it was a surprise for some watching live in the building as well as at home. We also got Andy in the chat with us saying hi. What's up, Andy? Good to see you today. And good to see all of y'all. If you're joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on Facebook, you're joining us on YouTube, join the ride, sound off, and give us your thoughts on TNA Slammiversary 2024. So the pre-show, you had 4 matches on the pre-show. They advertised 3 of those, but we had 4 matches overall for the pre-show for Slammiversary, the countdown to Slammiversary, as they put it. The opening matchup, you had a 4-way matchup with Tasha Steelz, Fabi Apache, Giselle Shaw, and Zaya Brookside. I really thought that Giselle Shaw would continue her momentum since she's returned to TNA. She's been picking up victory after victory. They were in Canada, so I thought that, you know, they would give her a win in her home country of Canada. But nope, we did not get that. Instead, we got the former TNA Knockout World Champion Tasha Steelz getting the win. It was after Giselle hit the dénouement on Zaya Brookside. It was Tasha who ran her into the ring post and stole the victory here. This was fairly decent. It was fine for an opening matchup. Tasha Steelz picking up a victory on the countdown to Slammiversary. We then hear some comments from the TNA Digital Media Champion and International Wrestling World Champion, AJ Francis, who he's got some backup with him. He's got some people that are going to be helping him out. Gonna help him. He's got a whole entourage with him, and he had some backup in the form of Josh Bishop, who is a name that I've seen fairly amount of times, whether it be on the independent scene, whether it be on I believe he was on MLW as well. I've seen him a couple of different times. I'm the rapper's name is escaping me, so I'm trying to look into my notes if I wrote down in my notes the rapper's name. You guys are faster than me, so you could probably put it in the chat before I'm able to look it up. The rapper here's name, so I'll wait for y'all to mention it in the chat. But yes, he has the backup here because he's going to be facing PCO in a Montreal street fight. So he had some backup in the form of Josh Bishop to take out the monster PCO. And PCO is a sicko. We would get into that with the matchup later on in the show. But yeah, the next matchup, which also featured the first class of Rich Swann as he was going one-on-one with Kush the God. Kushida was here. Kushida has a whole new look. He came out with basically like a basket over his head. I was very much confused. I'm going to be fair. I was very much confused on what the attire was supposed to be until he took off the basket and he revealed that he has he's the new. Oh, it's Smoke Dizza. It was Smoke Dizza, the rapper's name. I had to scroll in our group chat a couple of times because I know that Sober Guy JJ mentioned that this was Smoke Dizza. But back to Kushida, who is basically he's tapped into his inner Hakushi. Yeah, I was confused as y'all were, but he got the win in this one with an avalanche hoverboard lock. This was supposed to be Kushida versus Jonathan Gresham, continuing their rivalry that started off at Under Siege and has continued over the last couple of months over the Black Ink that has really transformed Kushida into his new element of the inner Hakushi inside of him. But he gets the win in another fairly decent matchup here. Nothing too much to write home about on the pre-show. I think the best match on the pre-show, though, was the Knockouts tag team titles as Militia, Masha Samovich, and Alicia Edwards retained, surprisingly, over Spitfire. They got the win with the Steiner's Avalanche Bulldog, the top row Bulldog Doomsday Device finisher there. I was very surprised that they pulled that out and very surprised that they retained here. I thought that Spitfire would regain the Knockouts tag team titles after the story that they told with Lars Fredrickson. I thought that they would get the win. And I thought that was the end of our pre-show matchups. But no, Santino Marella. He comes out and he's speaking a whole bunch of French for the French Canadians. And he says that he's got one more matchup with them, and it's going to be one of the TNA originals. It was Eric Young, and he was going one-on-one with a returning TNA wrestler, none other than the former MLW heavyweight champion, Alexander Hammerstone, now just Hammerstone. And I thought that this was, a nice return here, a nice surprise to kick off the night. Hammerstone, I thought he would get the win over Eric Young. Eric Young seems to be there to kind of put people over at this point, but no, surprisingly, Eric Young gets the win. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing, TNA? I was like, are we trying to push Hammerstone? Hammerstone had featured with Josh Alexander. They had a series of like good to great matches at the beginning of the year, and then he gets hurt. I think it was before either Rebellion or Under Siege. He gets hurt and he's out for a while, and then he comes back here and he loses to Eric Young. Eric Young hypes up the crowd ahead of the pay-per-view to end off our pre-show. So that was very confusing. Hammerstone losing, like not as confusing as Christopher Daniels stripping the Bang Bang Gang of the Trios Championships. Yep, I'm still on that. We'll get into that on Collision Discourse, I guess, tomorrow. But we got in the chat, Josh, Tony KK, what up, my dude? He says that Josh isn't the only wrestler who had turned heel. Nope, he's not. No, he is not. But he's the most noteworthy that turned heel, Tony K. It's all about the headlines. That's how you get the views on YouTube, Tony K. Just letting you know. Speaking of KKs, we got a question from Call Me Mr. Banda. He says that where's Killer Kelly? Also, TNA need more knockouts tag teams. Me and Cresta the Star talked about that on the Slammiversary preview, that it seems like we're in a series of there's only 2 knockouts tag teams at a time. Like you had Decay for a while there, but now it's just Spitfire and Militia. They need more tag teams. I agree with you. Hopefully now that SDL, Steph DeLander, is back, we'll get into that very shortly. Hopefully with her being back, that means that we're going to get, her and Zaya Brookside, who have been developing a friendship. Maybe they'll be a tag team. I think we'll get more tag teams developing in the next couple of weeks. I hope. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. But that is all for the countdown to Slammiversary. Now we're going to get into the main card, and the main card kicked off with Broken Matt Hardy. Broken Matt Hardy was in action as he was going up against JDC, Johnny Dango Curtis, trying to get revenge for his family after JDC beat his wife, Rebby Hardy, and took out Jeff Hardy with a steel chair wrapped around his neck. This was basically because I guess they can't make it across the border. Neither one of them. Matt and Johnny attack each other before the bell in the entranceway. JDC avoids Matt as much as he can, going out of the ring a couple of times. I like that he's wearing the American flag, which would become a theme with the system on the night. Easy Heat wearing the American flag in Canada, even though we're basically like neighbors. I consider they're American adjacent, North America, exactly. We got he looks like a political candidate with the flag and everything. Curtis bites away at Matt, but Matt just comes back with some bites of his own. He eventually wears down Matt a bit with some body scissors. Matt evades. He hits the leg drop on the apron, some head banging to the apron, a vertical suplex, and an elbow drop from the second rope. Matt Dango's able to reverse out of the twist of fate, but he gets caught with the side effect. Falcon Arrow by JDC gets him a near fall. He goes into the corner, but Matt meets him in the corner, and he catches him with a twist of fate off the second rope. After the matchup, Matt is not done. He picks him up a couple of more times, gives him another twist of fate, and another for Rebby and Jeff. Broken Matt says that he has deleted JDC. This match wasn't much to write home about. It went about 4.5 minutes. I guess you could say 5 minutes with the brawl before the bell. I give it 2 stars, 2.25. I'll give it 2.25. I'm generous today. I'm feeling good today. 2.25 stars for Broken Matt Hardy versus JDC. It was a good opener as far as the crowd was, because they were definitely into the Broken Matt Hardy shtick, and he's a good guy to kind of open your shows. I mean, TNA, you probably spent a lot of money on getting, Matt Hardy, but especially Jeff Hardy. And the fact that Jeff wasn't able to make this show because of his DUIs, he's not able to be in Canada. They're very strict about that. And I'm hearing the rumor and innuendo is that Jeff Hardy might not even be on their Bound for Glory event coming up in October. I would hope that's not the case. I would hope that's not the case. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully you make the show in the US so you can get some type of, play off of having Jeff Hardy on your roster, because this is the first big pay-per-view after his surprise debut at Against All Odds, and he's not on it. So to each his own, to each his own. Next up, we had our first title match of the night. The TNA World Tag Team titles up for grabs. The Systems, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, going up against the ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. The System are out here in their all-Americana colors. We did get a promo from the System, all of them dressed in the red, white, and blue, talking about how they're going to dominate on the night. Spoiler alert, they did not. ABC were in the pink and black attack, a tribute to, of course, the Hart Foundation and the Hart family. They even hit a heart attack early on in this matchup. Chris Bay eats some double teams from the System. Alicia works over Bay on the ring ropes to get the fans more mad at the System. Ace Austin tags in. He gets a quick little hot tag. The System get dumped outside. Bay hits both of the Systems with a nice little clean tope con hilo over the top rope, taking out both men as he gave the 2-sweet to Ace Austin. Edwards blocks Austin on a springboard attempt, and then they wear down Austin. He takes a bunch of the heat. They wear him down for quite some time in this matchup. The way this was paced was very much like an old school tag team matchup, and that goes to the two tag team specialists, that is Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. And I like that, the commentary team talked about how they are like two of the most decorated tag team performers in TNA history. Austin blocks a move in the corner. He hits a kick to Myers. Edwards and Bay then tag in. Bay starts running wild. He starts chomping down on Edwards and Myers. Alicia blocks Bay from doing what he wanted. Bay cuts Edwards down on the apron. We get a nice little exchange where it looks like Brian Myers is about to go for a spear on Ace Austin, but Ace Austin flips into the ring, and then Myers gets caught with a cutter right on the apron, and then Austin follows up with the I think it's called the Sword to Glory, taking out Edwards on the floor. We get a big frog splash by Chris Bay for a near fall. Bay gets taken out with a big spear by Myers for a near fall. ABC busts out a Bullet Club special, the Magic Killer, but they only get a 2 count on Myers. Alicia tries to get involved and block the 1-2 sweet finisher, but instead, you get Myers, who steps in front of Alicia, and then Eddie Edwards pulls Myers out the way, which causes Chris Bay to hit a ugly looking art of finesse on Alicia Edwards, taking her out completely. He then hits a double art of finesse on Myers and Edwards, and then we get the 1-2 sweet on Brian Myers for new TNA World Tag Team Champions. This match went about 17 minutes, really got a lot of time, but the crowd was so hot for the final 5 minutes of this matchup. I thought this was one of the better matches on the card. Love ABC so much. I think they're one of the most underrated tag teams in the game because they can work this more of an old school kind of paced out, a little bit slow and intricate type of matchup that the System want to work, but they also splice in a lot of their high flying and fast paced offense and double team moves that are very unique to them. I think they need to be more praised for ABC because these are two guys in Ace Austin and Chris Bay that were X Division stalwarts, that were guys that people pegged 2-3 years ago as future TNA World Tag Team, TNA World Champions, and they have developed and become the stalwarts of this tag team division. They are the best tag team in TNA, so it makes a whole world of sense for TNA to put the tag team titles back on them. They got a couple of months where the System were able to dominate for the first half of the year, but put the titles back on your best team, and that's the ABC. I gave this match 4 stars. This was a great matchup that really had the crowd in Montreal rocking, especially down the stretch of this matchup, and they were biting on a lot of the close near falls in the latter stages of the matchup. We got Call Me. He says 1-2 sweet. Yes, that finisher is always good. The art of finesse into the fold always looks great. We got I Make Beats in the chat. Thanks for joining us. He says, yo, what's up? I'm popping in while working once again. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Much love. Hope you have a good weekend, good sir. Hope it's going well at work, and hopefully you don't have too much longer there. You get the hell up out of there and enjoy the rest of your weekend, sir. But yes, thank you for joining us. And if you haven't already, I think I saw you for the first time on our preview for Slammiversary. Hit the bell, subscribe, because we do plenty of content. We're here 7 days a week, good brother. So thank you for joining us in the chat. I appreciate that. Next up, our third match on the main card, you had Jake Something going one-on-one with Mike Santana. We talked about this on the preview. This is the matchup that really lacked in as far as build and story. There was no story to this one. Just two guys that have been on a tear but came up short in their qualifying matches for the six-way main event. And boy, oh boy, did these two guys bring out like all the big guns in this matchup. You had some hard-hitting action, had some big lariats, both guys hitting crazy dives to the floor. Jake Something does the old Undertaker over the ropes, no hands dive. You had Santana, who does a step-up tope con hilo senton off the top rope after a springboard. You got Santana keeps working over Something, but he takes too long, which gives Something a little bit of advantage. Commentary did a good job telling us the history of these two men, but this is something that, you know, they kind of should establish on the way to the event, in my opinion. We got a rolling cutter by Santana, gets a 2 reversals. We got a DDT, drop kick, cannonball in the corner from Santana for a 2 count. Jake Something catches a cannonball at one point and hits a gnarly looking sit out power bomb. Something goes to the top rope, but Santana catches him up there and hits a ridiculous looking German suplex off the top rope. They start firing punches at one another. Santana hits a big lariat, but only gets a 1 count on Something. And then he hits STB, spin the block, the discus lariat to get the 1, 2, 3 in this one. This one went 11.5 minutes. I enjoyed it for what it was. I gave it 3.25 stars. Not the best match on the card, but I thought these two guys really went out there to get a reaction from the fans, and the fans were very much into the big moves and great sequences that these two guys had together. So a good matchup here with Santana picking up another victory. I'm going to need Santana to make his way up the card a little bit, because he deserves a push. We got AO Productions in the chat. Thank you so much, AO. Thanks for joining us. Remember to drop that like, bro. He says, what's up? Fun show yesterday. Montreal crowd was lit. Each match delivered. Yes, I would say each match delivered in its own way. Like this one, like I said, it wasn't much build to it, but they went out there and got as much reaction as possible from the crowd in Montreal, and they were reacting to a bunch of the stuff there. We got also AO who says, this started when backstage exclusive, Jake tried to calm down Santana after JDC screwed his qualifying match, but Santana didn't want to hear it. That is bare, and it should be those backstage exclusive. It's good to have those on social media, but if you're going to make that a match at the pay-per-view, you need to show one of those segments on your TV, and they didn't. So that's why I said not much of a build to this one, unfortunately. I Make B says, bro, Errol Hebner was on this pay-per-view. Are you kidding me? No, I am not. I'm going to get into that. Please believe. I'm going to get into it. But next up was our cameo matchup from our NXT cameos here, as we had the reunited Rascals, and it feels so good. Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and former NXT North American champion Wes Lee going up against the No Quarter Catch Crew, Charlie Dempsey, Miles Bourne, and Tavion Heights. I love the Rascals coming out in Buzz Lightyear inspired gear and entrance attire. That was really fun. Really fun look for those guys. You get early on, Miguel gets the advantage on Bourne, so Dempsey tags in, and then we get a NXT matchup in a TNA ring as Wes Lee is in there with Charlie Dempsey. They go at it for a bit. We get a head scissors, a big drop kick by Wes Lee on Dempsey. Wentz comes in as they do like a triple team offense on Dempsey that ends with Wes doing a Bronco Buster. Wentz, though, he gets suplexed and dropped a couple of times by Tavion Heights, who really impressed me in this one. They isolated Wentz for a bit here before Miguel owns the world world for a minute, but a distraction lets that go. Miguel gets worked over for a while. Miguel gets slammed into the corner. Tavion suplexes Miguel and slows things down. We get some clotheslines, but then eventually Miguel fights back into this one, and he's able to get the hot tag to Wesley. Wesley starts going off. He hits a big DDT on Dempsey, 3-on-1 on the floor. He gets caught. Trey Miguel gets caught, and then Wesley manages to hit a big move over the top rope, Tope Con Hilo, to take everybody out on the outside. We get some submissions by the NQCC. Miles Bourne is trying to stop them from breaking it up, but it's eventually broken up by the Rascals, and that's all the Rascals need to just go off. They hit big move after big move. We get a big dive to the outside by Trey Miguel, and we get the hot flyer flame for the 1-2-3. Zachary Wentz pinning Tavion Heights for the Rascals to pick up the victory here. Very fun trios matchup here. Fast pace when the Rascals were on offense, more slow it down and pacing it well when the NQCC were in the advantage here. This one went just over 14 minutes, but a very fun trios match. Like I said, 3 3/4 stars was my rating for this one. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun matchup. The Rascals, man, I want more Rascals. If that's the only NXT inclusion that we're going to see crossover from the NXT program to TNA, I'm totally fine with it, because Wesley just felt like he was at home. He didn't feel like a guest visiting. He felt like an old family member who came back to the reunion, came back for the anniversary show. It felt good. We got in the chat here, we got AO Productions, who says NXT-TNA collaboration has been great and refreshing. Talents from both worlds enjoy it. We also got Tony KK, who says Rascals with Wesley for life. Call Me says solid 6-man tag. I agree. We also got Tony KK, who says WWE President Nick Khan needs to fix that forbidden door immediately. The NXT-TNA remains in full effect. See, Tony KK, too many people trying to give all the props and all the love for the NXT-TNA collaboration to Triple H, when it's not Triple H at all. This is Nick Khan. We heard the news like a year and a half ago that Nick Khan wanted to work with other promotions. Nick Khan was the one who created the bridge for NXT and WWE talent to work at GCW Bloodsport. He's the one that's bringing TNA and NXT together. Put more respect on my guy Nick Khan's game, man. Nick Khan, the GOAT of WWE, in my opinion. We got I Make Beats, who says, "What my NXT boys doing in the Impact Zone? They cooking. They was cooking." 3 3/4 stars for the Rascals and NQCC. And you got that fast-paced, fun trios matchup, and then you were going to get something completely different. You got AJ Francis coming out with Smoke Dizza, Josh Bishop, and Rich Swann as he defends the TNA Digital Media Championship and the Canadian International Heavyweight Championship against PCO. Before PCO comes out, we get AJ Francis saying that they took out PCO backstage and he's done and dusted. He wants a referee to come out and announce him as the winner. But of course, that was just a setup. PCO being reanimated during his entrance, which I always get a kick out of it. It's a big spectacle break for the show. PCO is alive, and he is here for a Montreal street fight, and this was a crazy one. We get PCO, who comes out immediately, and AJ Francis attacks. He throw all the rules out the window like PCO usually does. He hits a big cannonball onto Francis on the apron. PCO salts onto Francis and Swann on the floor. This one is starting off hot with the Montreal crowd. They love them some PCO here. The French-Canadian Frankenstein in French-Canadian. Which Swann goes after PCO, which seems like a terrible idea, but it leads to Francis in a super kick on PCO. PCO fights back against Francis and Swann. Francis finds a trash can, which he wanted old wrestlers to put their valuables into. Francis went off with steel chair shots onto PCO. It's a big leg drop for a 2 count. Francis then stacks the steel chairs, stacks them on top of each other, and then he hits a big electric chair drop that looked good onto the chairs for a 2 count. Of course, this leads into Francis getting slammed through the tables on the outside that he set up to start the matchup. That was a gnarly looking spot. Francis taking that bump through the 2 tables, but this gave an opening for Josh Bishop at the behest of Smoke Dizza. He gets a steel chair and he attacks PCO from behind, and we get the most gnarly bump of this whole freaking matchup as Joshua Bishop power bombs PCO into unfolded steel chairs with the freaking, oh my God, his spine. How is this man walking? This man's not going to walk in like a few years because he takes some of the gnarliest, sickest bumps in professional wrestling today. Now that Josh Bishop was involved, though, Sami Callihan came out. He teased that by interrupting the interview backstage earlier in the night. He comes out. He starts fighting with Josh Bishop before he's attacked from behind by Rich Swann. This leads to Rhino coming out. His music plays. He comes out. He gores Rich Swann. This leads to Rhino getting the crowd behind PCO. He gets up, brings Francis in the ring. He hits the PCO salt, but only gets a 2. What are we doing here? I don't know what we're doing here. Francis is able to get back. He hits a big tombstone power driver on the dead man, the half man, the monster that is PCO, but PCO kicks out. He wants the down payment choke slam, but instead PCO hits a choke slam of his own onto the chairs and then follows up with the PCO salt. History has been made. 1, 2, 3. PCO is your new TNA digital media and Canadian international heavyweight champion, the double champ PCO in his home country, his hometown of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And man, PCO, I said it to the guys in the True Hill Heat chat. I will say it to all of y'all watching. PCO is already a candidate for best week of the week on the True Hill Heat Flash It podcast, which we're going to do next weekend. He's already a candidate because this man wins double championships. And then post-match, we get Steph DeLander coming down to the ring. She botches getting on her knee and loses the ring for a bit, but she gets on one knee and she asks PCO to marry her. All the crowd is saying, say we, and he says, we, yes, we're gonna get a wedding. If they are in love, it feels so good. Yes, STL, PCO, they are getting married. Love is like the greatest thing in the world. AJ Francis couldn't stop the love that is STL and PCO. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, folks. But yes, PCO, finally a champion in TNA. He's been in TNA for 2 years now. He had the whole storyline with, Honor No More, becoming on his own, standing on his own 2 feet by himself. He's had other opportunities at the TNA World Championship in the past, but finally, PCO is a champion in TNA. This was just a fun plunder brawl. This is what you tend to expect from a PCO matchup, but I had a lot of fun with it, honestly. I had a lot more fun than I thought I would with PCO versus AJ Francis. I think they overachieved with this rivalry, and it seems to be that's the theme of AJ Francis in TNA. Like, I think that not a lot of people had high expectation for AJ Francis versus Joe Hendry, but you see, like, months later, after that whole storyline ended, both guys were elevated. Joe Hendry is the hottest star in the company. AJ Francis was digital media champion. He was the guy doing a lot of like the publicity and the interviews ahead of Slammiversary. I got to talk to him ahead of Slammiversary. He is one of the guys that are representing TNA on a bigger scale and getting their name out there outside of the whole NXT TNA collaboration. AJ Francis has been a great ambassador for TNA. And then you see what Joe Hendry's doing, where he's on NXT. And now you got this rivalry with PCO where they overachieved, and it's helped the whole story that's going on with PCO and STL, putting them in the center stage. This was a lot of fun, and they got a lot out of this rivalry than probably a lot of us were expecting beforehand. So I gave the matchup 3.5 stars. I had a good old time. I was very sports entertained. We got AO Productions. He says PCO and AJ killed it. AO says folks got to give Francis more credit. I agree. I really like the guy. After talking to him, had a lot of fun chopping it up with him. Check out our interview. We talk about the death of Slim Shady. We talk about his Mount Rushmore of best rappers. So he's a guy that he has a lot of fun. He has a great personality and he has so much charisma. His charisma jumps off the screen, whether you're talking to him or whether you're watching him on TV, it always jumps off the screen. Call me Mr. Banda. He says, let's get rid of that digital media championship, 24/7 title, but TNA. Make the International Heavyweight Championship their TV title. That's an interesting note. I don't know if AJ Francis really did buy the championship or did TNA buy the championship. I don't know. They're going to have to tell me that, but I would get my title back if I was you, AJ. I'm just saying. Eric Isaac says, best night ever for PCO, becoming a champion in his hometown. You've got that part. And getting engaged on the same night, says Eric Isaacs, for sure. And we also got Call Me Mr. Banda, who says, I'm calling it goth wedding in a steel cage. Hardcore. They're probably going to do the wedding as they're in Montreal today, later today, for their taping for Impact for the next couple of weeks. So, hey, get the wedding done. Do it in his hometown. All his family and friends can be there. Does PCO have family and friends? I don't know. Can you do that if you're a Frankenstein? Can you have a family? I don't know. He's going to have a wife. So, I wonder what they would have at the reception. What type of drinks? Would it be an open bar? What do you think is going to be the dress? Who do you think is going to be invited to the wedding? I have so many questions about this wedding. So sound off in the live chat if you got any questions like me about this wedding. We got AO who says, I'm looking forward to the wedding. And guys, come on, show me some love so I can tell my missus, hey, I didn't do this for free. Send me a super chat donation. It could be $2. It could be $1. I don't think you can make a comment if it's $1, but it could be $1. It could be $2. Send me a super chat donation so Mike can say my missus, hey, I made some money today. That is a good shout, Ayo. Zaya will be the maid of honor. I totally see that. I want to know who's going to be PCO's best man, though. Is it the guy that reanimates him or the guy that made him? Who is it that made Frankenstein? I thought it was Dr. Frankenstein made Frankenstein. I don't know any of this, but I have so many questions about this wedding. This was one of my favorite parts of the show, honestly. Then we had the TNA Knockouts World Championship up for grabs. Jordan Grace defending against Ash. We get the tail of the tape before the matchup. I like when they do this type of stuff, but I had to show this because I did get a kick out of the accolades for Ash by Elegance is that she's seeking her first major world championship tonight at the show. And for Jordan Grace, who has a boatload of accolades, and usually you only need like 3 lines of accolades for anyone, or 2 lines at that. She's a 3-time Knockouts World Champion. She's a former Knockouts Tag Team Champion, first TNA Digital Media Champion. She's the first ever Knockouts Grand Slam Champion. Yet they needed to add 2024 WWE Royal Rumble entrant. I'm sorry, TNA. As much, and I loved Jordan Grace being in the Royal Rumble. Don't take this the wrong way. But just being in the matchup should not be an accolade. I'm just saying. You could say she eliminated 3 people or she eliminated 1 person in the 2024 Royal Rumble. If you really want to mention the WWE Royal Rumble, there was other ways around. That's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But Jordan Grace and Ash by Elegance early on. Ash fights back early in the contest. The personal concierge tried to get involved, holding on to Jordan Grace's foot. This leads to the referee kicking him out from ringside. As Rosemary was in the crowd watching this matchup, she was about to carry the personal concierge to the back, but he was able to escape. So she pulled out a knife. Yes. She pulled out a knife on this man. I was like, damn, Rosemary. I've got to interview Rosemary too. I didn't know she was that. She was Taser from freaking Supercell. Like Taser from Supercell, man. That man go invisible, start stabbing people. Rosemary not even invisible, pulling out a damn knife at a wrestling event. What are we doing? That guy was absolutely gone. I don't blame him. Ash dumps Jordan on the floor and then stomps on her on the apron. Ash hit a nice little backstabber and then into a submission. Grace with a couple of big slams. She hits the muscle buster, which she is calling the Shades of Samoa, which I like that name. She only got a 2 count on that one. Ash came back, hits a big tornado DDT. Both women fight to the top rope where Jordan Grace hits a superplex into the juggernaut jackhammer. So smooth on that one, only getting a 2 count. Grace lands a lot of shots to Ash, but Ash is able to fight back. She blocks all the shots and then hits a Canadian destroyer. I was like, all right, Ash, I see you. Come on, girl. She goes for the rarefied air swanton, but Jordan Grace is able to get her knees up. We get some reversals. Grace tries to meet Ash on the top rope, but Ash is able to hit an avalanche sliced bread. Come on, Ash, let's go. Grace kicks out of that one. She then kicks at Ash's legs and gets her into a Kakita clutch. She's doing all the Samoa Joe moves in this one. Ash is able to fight back. Grace hits a big clothesline. Ash gets out of the Grace driver and rolls her up for a near fall. Jordan Grace, though, fights back. She hits a big power bomb into the Grace driver for the 1-2-3. This one going 12 minutes, 16 seconds. Very good matchup here. I give it 3 3/4 stars. Ash by Elegance really stepping up to the plate in this one and delivering a real good fight for Jordan Grace. It felt like Jordan Grace had a little bit of a struggle before getting the win on this one, but Jordan Grace passes Deonna Purrazzo for the second most title defenses in a single Knockouts World Championship reign. She is really delivering one of the more legendary runs with that title. Jordan Grace, one of the biggest stars in TNA wrestling, and they are really trying to establish this title reign as the one that everybody's going to remember for her and try to establish her as one of the greatest Knockouts World Champions of all time. She won it back in January, and now 12 defenses in this single title reign. And this was one where she was facing someone who we can all agree, Ash by Elegance is not one of the best wrestlers out there, but they went out there and had a very good matchup that, in my opinion, it exceeded my expectations. I thought it would be good, but it was very good. Ash by Elegance pulling out some moves I've never seen from her before, like the Canadian Destroyer, like the Avalanche Sliced Bread. But Jordan Grace just has that poise. She does everything so smooth in the ring and so powerful with everything she does. And this is not even Jordan Grace's best match of the week. If you watch Japanese Pro Wrestling on Monday last week, she had a banger with Hashimoto, Shishihiro Hashimoto over in Sendai Girls. Guys, I botch all these Japanese names, but Hashimoto is a beast, and her and Jordan Grace going at it, and then Jordan Grace actually hitting the Grace driver on Hashimoto. Man, they went at it. I suggest y'all watch that one. And we'll see some more of Ash by Elegance going up against Jordan Grace as a mixed tag team matchup was announced later on in the show, as Santino was backstage. He was approached by the personal concierge, who was upset with Ash losing. Hammerstone was upset with his loss to Eric Young earlier on the pre-show. So Santino made it a mixed tag team matchup of Ash by Elegance and Hammerstone going up against Jordan Grace and Eric Young this Thursday on TNA Impact. If you don't know, now you know. We do shorts on every episode of TNA Impact, so check out our shorts section. Chris G does a great job of giving you the comprehensive review of TNA Impact every single week. We got in the chat Ayo Productions, who says this was Ash's best match probably ever. Yeah, I think this is the best match I've seen Ash by Elegance in. I mean, I think she had fairly decent, solid matches in WWE. I can't remember anything off the top of my head that was as good as this, though. This was good. This was on a big stage on a pay-per-view, and she delivered something that it felt fair to be like, hey, this was a good matchup. We got Chris, who disagrees. He said he gives it 3 stars. Ash by Elegance is still Dana Brooke to me. I think that she's really embraced this character, and I think that she showed off that she has more in her arsenal than what we saw in Dana Brooke in WWE, especially in this matchup here. Eric Isaac says, Ash in defeat proved a lot of people wrong. holding her own against the champ, but still want my girl Havoc when she returns to get her lick back on her, and as a Rosemary versus Ash match in the future. Yeah, I like the fact that Ash lost here after the big 6-month buildup to get this title opportunity, but you naturally see where she's going to go to next with Rosemary, going to be feuding with Rosemary before Havoc eventually returns. And we don't know, maybe Havoc returns and she sides with Ash by Elegance, and we get a new tag team out of that. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind Ash finding a partner and being in the Knockouts tag team division after this loss here. Call me Mr. Banda, who says, I'm going to need Jordan Grace and Giselle Shaw to run it back for the TNA Knockouts World Championship at Bound for Glory. I think that is where they're heading. I think Giselle Shaw is the person that they are gearing up, that they're heating up to eventually dethrone Jordan Grace when it's time for Jordan Grace to lose the title. I don't know if that's going to be at Bound for Glory, if they wait to Hard to Kill right before Jordan Grace's contract expires. I don't know which way they'll go. Andy's asking who is next to defeat Jordan Grace for the Women Knockout Championship. Then I think, like I said, I think it's Giselle Shaw. I think Giselle Shaw is the person. She feels like she's like a TNA stalwart, the TNA person that holds that flag very well. It's another person I've got to interview. I know I'm just dropping all the names and bragging about my interviews. I'm sorry, guys. Check out the interviews. It's good stuff. But next with the matchup, a lot of us were looking forward to the most. TNA X Division Championship up for grabs. Mustafa Ali, which with Campaign Singh in his corner and the Secret Service team versus Montreal's own Speedball, Mike Bailey. We get one of the best announcers, best commentators in the game today, Veda Scott, Mrs. Speedball. She is in the front row cheering her man on. Ali has much more people along with him at ringside to cheer him on in this one with the Secret Service team. He's even got a security detail for his presidential character. Bailey starts going off early on Ali, hitting some big kicks. Singh tries to distract Bailey, which gives Ali a little bit of an advantage. We get Bailey moonsault on Ali on the outside. Ali fights back with a tornado DDT from the second rope to the floor. We get a neck breaker in the ring for a 2 count by Ali. Ali tries to slow things down with a chin lock. He goes for a gory special and only gets a 2 count. Ali tries to set up some moves, but he gets kicked in the back. Bailey follows up with a Falcon Arrow and then a beautiful looking shooting star press, but only gets a 2 count. Bailey misses some double knees on the apron, hitting his knees very, very hard, which leads to more nonsense. We get him fighting back against Ali. They go to the tippy top rope. All the Secret Service team and Campaign Singh are on the outside, and we get a crazy looking Spanish fly to the floor on top of all the security detail and Secret Service team. Great spot by Ali and Bailey there. That was a huge pile of people that they took out here. Bailey tosses Ali into the ring. Ali kicks the man right in the head very, very hard. Ali had almost a 3 count, but the feet were on the ropes. Bailey with the acai moonsault on the floor. He then goes to the top rope. He goes with the Ultimo weapon into a knee though, as Ali catches him and gets a quick advantage on him. Ali gets his knee up, but it only gets a 2. Ali goes back up top. He misses a 450 splash. Ali blocks Bailey on the next attempt. Both men are up on the top rope. We get a poison Rana by Speedball onto Ali. That was a great looking spot. He then follows up with the Ultimo weapon. 1, 2, 3, pretty much. That's what I saw. But apparently the referee says that Ali's foot was on the rope. We even had a confusion backstage where they started playing Speedball's music. The referee is eventually knocked down as we get a referee bump, and then the security guards surround the ring. Ali gets them to jump Bailey as Bailey starts taking out all the Secret Service people until Campaign Singh hits him with the X Division Championship. He hits a couple of 450 splashes. The referee comes to. He hits 1, 2, and then one of the security teams pulls the referee out of the ring, which leads to some more confusion as it is revealed that the security team person is Trent Seven. He pulled the referee out of the ring. Seven takes a bunch of the people at ringside out, but then Ali hits a suicide dive on him. He grabs a chair. He hits Bailey in the back with the steel chair, and he calls an X, calls an audible, and he brings out a second referee, which is none other than WWE legend Earl Hebner. Yes, Earl Hebner refereeing a match with the Canadian in Montreal. We are getting a callback to the Montreal screw job here. The Hall of Fame referee has returned to TNA. Ali locks on the sharpshooter. He then tries to get Earl to call for the bell, but Earl has a conscience, and he says no, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it again. He's learned his lesson from 1997. He's learned his lesson of 27 years ago. Ali is pissed at him. He says, "What am I paying you for?" This leads to Bailey coming back. He drops Ali. He locks on a sharpshooter of his own. Earl Hebner asks him if he wants to submit, and Ali taps out. Yes, Speedball Mike Bailey, Canada's own, gets the win and regains the X Division Championship with the freaking sharpshooter in Montreal with Earl Hebner as the referee. What Survivor Series 1997 should have been. We got it here. Speedball Mike Bailey, your new X Division champion. This match went over 20 minutes. So much fun action. It was hard hitting at times. Spectacular sequences like the Poison Rana, like the Spanish Fly to the floor. Speedball and Mustafa Ali have great chemistry with one another, and this was an excellent matchup. I give it 4.25 stars. This was arguably the match of the night. This was the match that everybody was looking forward to, and Speedball Mike Bailey winning the X Division Championship back home in Montreal just made all the sense in the world, and it was a great moment on this show, arguably the best moment of the night, in my opinion. You know me, I'm a huge Speedball Mike Bailey fan and have been for years. I've interviewed the guy on 3 occasions on this channel alone. Got to meet him in person when he was in New York City working an independent show, bought his t-shirt and everything. I'm a huge Speedball fan. This was my favorite moment of the night. This was a great matchup. Mustafa Ali did a amazing job as X Division champion, and his character work, and the fact that he went undefeated for 300 plus days after leaving WWE. The last time he suffered a submission or pinfall loss was back when he was in WWE in 2023. He built himself up as this unstoppable force with the security team, with the Secret Service, with Campaign Scene protecting him at all costs. He developed into a very, very well-established heel character that needed to be overcome by the ultimate babyface, and none other than the ultimate weapon himself. Speedball Mike Bailey was that ultimate babyface, and this delivered one of the best matches on this show. In my opinion, spoiler alert, probably the best match on this show. I love this one for sure. And my good friend Pluggo of Love Wrestling said that this was perfect in every way, and he wanted me to let the world know that. We got I Make Beats. He says this match felt like in late 90s WCW cruiserweight bout. So good. Yes. It had a lot of cruiserweight offense to it, but it was the story and the character of Mustafa Ali that brought the emotion out of the crowd. That's what I really enjoyed about this, and that he needed to be overcome by the ultimate babyface that was Speedball Mike Bailey. We got Chris. He says 4 stars for him. He also says sweet redemption for Uncle Earl in all places, Montreal. Love it. Love it. Love it so much. I Make Beats. It says Earl couldn't do it a second time. Nope. Couldn't do it again. Couldn't screw over a Canadian in Montreal again. Call me Mr. Banda. He says love Mustafa Ali, but Speedball is a perfect X Division champion. And despite him having, I believe it was a 110-day reign in 2022, it felt like they ended his reign way too early. And I really wanted him to hold the title even more. He almost set a record for most title defenses in a single reign of the X Division champion. So I wanted to see Speedball regain the X Division championship. He's talked to me about that, about wanting that title back because he loves that title and he doesn't want to use it to just get option C and go for the world title. He wants people to remember that the X Division championship at one time in TNA was the biggest championship in this company. And this easily, if it wasn't for, the title change in the main event, I would have told you this should have been the main event of the show because I felt like the crowd was most invested all the way through all 20 minutes of this matchup for Speedball and Mustafa Ali. We got AO who says, at least we can remind folks that Earl redeemed himself years later. Yep. We can tell them. If you're not watching TNA Slammiversary, you missed a moment 27 years in the making. And then finally, we had the TNA World Championship up for grabs. 6-way main event elimination style. Moose defending the TNA World Championship against Josh Alexander, Steve Maclin, Nic Nemeth, Frankie Kazarian, and of course, the most popular, hottest superstar in all of TNA wrestling, Joe Hendry. He is the wrestler of this moment, and I like all the different kinds of characters that we had in here. I like the video package before this that was all about, the different motivations going in. Kazarian seeing this as his ultimate end game after a couple of decades in TNA. Alexander had to give up the title and hasn't gotten it back yet. Maclin wants it back after his short reign. Nemeth wants it for the first time after coming close at Rebellion. And Moose has defended against all of these different people after a very solid reign over the last 6 months. Moose got his ass kicked early on as everybody went against him. Then they started all four of the, 3 baby faces and 1 tweener in Steve Maclin jumped Kazarian for a while with Hendry in a big stalling suplex. Our first elimination comes when Moose out of nowhere, he picks his spot. He hits a big spear to Steve Maclin, and Maclin is out of this one. So I was like, damn, Maclin was out of here early. After Maclin freaking kicked out of like 18 German suplexes by Josh Alexander. He was about to hit the KIA on Kazarian, and then Moose hit him with that spear to eliminate him. Moose worked on all the different leftovers that were left in the ring. This leads to a brawl up the stage area where Kazarian flies and gets sent off the stage through a table, and he's out for a while here. And I think we got our first run-in of it. We went a full hour, and we got our first run-in. How you doing? What are you drinking her milk for? You can't drink your mommy's milk, and you're drinking in front of the people. You got to tell the people to send the super chat.
Super chat. Oh,
no, your friends are not here. It's me alone. It's me by myself. But thank you. See, send the super chat so my daughter can get some milk of her own instead of stealing my missus milk. Love the run-ins. Don't you love the run-ins? Gotta love the Harlem Heat. But like I said, Kazarian gets put through the table, and he's out for a bit in this one, when it becomes basically a four-way matchup with Nemeth, Alexander, Hendry, and Moose. We get the surprising result of this one as the second person eliminated is Moose, of all people. Hendry takes him inside out with a big clothesline, and then he follows up with the standing ovation. 1, 2, 3. That got the biggest reaction of this matchup, as we knew at that point we would get a new TNA World Champion. The crowd was stunned, but they were firmly behind Hendry at this point. Hendry got them stomping and clapping their hands as it looks like he's about to follow up and hit the standing ovation on Josh Alexander. Then out of nowhere, Josh reverses and low blows Hendry. The crowd is like gasping, like, what just happened? And then Josh Alexander follows up with the C4 spike. 1, 2, 3. Joe Hendry is eliminated. Why, TNA? Why? Why would you do that? Not our favorite Labrador, our favorite Scottish Labrador. No, Joe Hendry is out of here. And then Josh Alexander completely cements his heel turn here. He starts beating on him, talking trash to Joe Hendry. He says, I'm the heart and soul of TNA. See, he's upset that the fans seem like they were all behind Joe Hendry. We're in Canada, and Mr. Canada is not getting the most ovation, not the fan favorite of this one, and he seemed pissed by that, and he starts beating up on Joe Hendry, stomping on his head. He even is about to attack the referee when Nic Nemeth comes in. He super kicks. We get a nice exchange of wrestling between Nic Nemeth and Josh Alexander. I think we're going to see those two go at it in the near future as well. But Nic Nemeth takes out Josh with a super kick. Josh Alexander is eliminated. And when we're down to 2, Frankie Kazarian and Nic Nemeth. Frankie Kazarian tries to slip in and get a roll up, but he's unable to do that. They exchange super kicks. They have a few more exchanges, leading to a big super kick by Nemeth on Kazarian. And then he follows up with the zigzag, the danger zone for the 1, 2, 3. And finally, Nic Nemeth has won the TNA World Championship. This was a chaotic, very fun, very entertaining, great main event matchup. All 6 men just kept up the action, nonstop action wherever you saw it. Total nonstop action, if you will. See what I did there? See, you see what I did there? Total nonstop action in this one. Everyone looked good in their own way. I thought we should have gotten more from Steve Maclin before his elimination. I think that it would have been even more effective if you had Moose be the first one eliminated, and then we could have had a little bit more of Joe Hendry until the end. I think that they should have done it, the final 3 being Joe Hendry, Josh Alexander, and Nic Nemeth, and then Nemeth eliminating Josh Alexander to become the champion, because it felt like the crowd kind of died a bit after Hendry was out of the matchup. It was very much subdued, and they never got the crowd back up and excited. And even though there was a little bit of a pop for Nemeth getting the victory, it wasn't as loud of a pop as when Hendry eliminated Moose. For that reason, I am probably going to be a little bit lower than some people on this matchup. I give it 4 stars. Great main event matchup. Like I said, they kept up the action, action-packed. Good story being told with everybody's different motivations going in. And we saw that come to fruition with kind of Josh Alexander snapping and turning heel with the low blow on Joe Hendry. And we have something to look forward to coming out of this matchup. We're going to get a Joe Hendry versus Josh Alexander feud. Maybe you get Frankie Kazarian trying to go back after the TNA World Championship after his attack on Nic Nemeth leading up to Slammiversary. You also got Moose, who was taken out early, and Nic Nemeth has still not defeated Moose, and he has a rematch clause, of course, so he's going to come back after. But I think this is all leading to probably we're either going to get Nic Nemeth versus Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory, or we're going to get Nic Nemeth versus Joe Hendry versus Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory. I think either a triple threat with Joe Hendry to get Hendry in here, and then Hendry can win the title at Bound for Glory. That was my booking, what I said on the preview. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on the Joe Hendry, movement, even though they should have, because I don't think he's going to – you got to strike while the iron is hot. When a guy has this much momentum, he's the it guy. I don't think that you can afford, holding off on it that long. You gotta strike while the iron is hot. This guy got a nuclear pop when he came out for the show, and he's in a match with Josh Alexander from Canada, and he's getting cheered more than him. He got cheered more than Nic Nemeth winning the world title for eliminating Moose. You gotta strike while the iron is hot, TNA. You can't wait that long with Joe Hendry. I understand the thinking that a lot of people are saying, Joe Hendry's going to be on NXT. He might have to lose to some NXT people. And do you really want your TNA World Champion to lose to anybody? And it makes sense in my eyes to put the title in your TNA on Nic Nemeth, because Nic Nemeth has gone out of his way and said publicly he doesn't want to be on NXT. He didn't want to be on NXT when he was signed to WWE. Even though TNA has a partnership with NXT, why would he want to be on NXT now? That doesn't make any sense. So he's a guy that can carry the flag for TNA, but I think he's going to be the guy that eventually drops the title to Joe Hendry, because you can't wait that long. You got to finish out the year with Joe Hendry as the TNA World Champion. I make beats saying biggest TNA pop in a hot minute. He says Josh Alexander about to go full Perk Angle. I agree. He was beating the hell out of Joe Hendry. It was kind of violent. I liked it. We got AO Productions who says Hendry will be fine. He's pinned Moose and likely in a Josh feud. I'm kind of okay. They didn't cater immediately to the casuals choice. He also says us TNA fans know Hendry has to be ready for this spot. Yeah, that's why I didn't think they would do it here. Even though there was part of me that wanted them to strike while the iron is hot, I do agree that you can wait a little while longer and pull the trigger at Bound for Glory. We got I Make Beats who says, I love Moose because he was just throwing bros around, then got the F out of there in one move. I like when he did that springboard into Kaz hitting him with the cutter. That was a nice little sequence showing the athleticism of Moose. Chris gives it 4 stars. I Make Beats says, any match that has to follow Earl Hebner redeeming himself after 27 years is gonna struggle. But the crowd was fully invested in this matchup. They were fully into this match, and then they were kind of let down. Once Hendry was out of there, they was like, that's our guy. I'm sorry, guys. We can't get back up for it. They were still into the rest of the matchup. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like quiet, but they weren't as into it as they were when Joe Hendry was in the matchup. And so good stuff all around from everybody involved. A great way to close the show for TNA Slammiversary. And I thought this was a very good show from TNA. I'm going to give it, so let me know in the live chat your match of the night, your MVP, your LVP, whether you gave the show a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, and out of 10, what did you give the show? For me, this is easy. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle in 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up for me for TNA Slammiversary 2024. I felt like the final stretch of matches from PCO, from the Rascals versus NQCC all the way through to the main event. It just got gradually better and better. There's some great matches mixed into there, like the Speedball Mike Bailey versus Mustafa Ali. There is the main event, 6-way main event that was great. There was some great matches on the show, some solid matches, great matches early on in the show with ABC versus the System. Ash by Elegance exceeding a lot of our expectation against Jordan Grace. PCO versus AJ Francis being way more entertaining than a lot of people gave it credit for. This was a really good show from TNA. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, probably the highest I've gone for a TNA show since Hard to Kill in January. So I give it an 8 out of 10. And we got our first super chat donation. That's what I'm talking about. Call me Mr. Banda. You know I got to go back to the missus and be like, hey, I made some money today. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you so much. He says, SP, I'm probably the only one here who hates Joe Hendry. You hate Joe Hendry? You never said his name and he appeared? My daughter is going to be so pissed. My daughter is a huge Joe Hendry fan. She knows about like 4 different wrestlers' names. She knows Randy Orton, John Spia. She doesn't even say his name right. John Spia, The Rock of Wrestling. I guess you can count iShow Speed as well because she knows iShow Speed from the spot at WrestleMania in the Prime bottle. She always says she wants to see Randy Orton and iShow Speed. She likes seeing that clip. And then 5 is Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is her new favorite wrestler. Anytime Joe Hendry's on the screen, she wants to see his entrance. She's like, American Scotland, in Canada, in Mexico. You see? But I do also understand he's not for everybody. He's kind of like, he's a comedy wrestler. He's a character wrestler. If you like your in-ring work type of guys, probably not for you. So I understand. But call me Mr. Banda says, SP, I'm probably the only one here who hates Joe Hendry, and I'll own it. Screw him. Happy for Nic Nemeth. 11 years later, he finished his story. He got the title back, baby. Got the title back after Jack Swagger screwed him over, giving him the concussion, ending his world heavyweight title reign. Finally got it back. Finally got it back, baby. We do got in the chat. Thank you once again. Call me Mr. Banda and show up some more, Mr. Banda. I know we do shows earlier in the day. Maybe this is like a better time for you, but I want to see you more in the chat, man. You got good comments. You got good takes. I appreciate you. And even though we disagree on Joe Hendry, I'm a Joe Hendry fan, and because I got to talk to Joe Hendry, check out that interview as well. Even though we disagree, I like your takes, man. I like your takes. It takes balls to say you hate Joe Hendry at this point. He's the most popular guy in the world. We got Chris who says thumbs up. We also got I Make Beats who says 7 out of 10, thumbs up. My match of the night, I got to give it to Speedball Mike Bailey and Mustafa Ali. Two guys that I am huge fans of, two of the best wrestlers on the TNA roster, arguably two of the best wrestlers in the world, going at it, showing off that cruiserweight style that Mustafa Ali became known for over on 205 Live about 5, 6, 7 years ago. Well, it's just talking about you.
The help.
Help you with what?
I got mommy. She's hurt her chin.
Mommy's hurt her chin?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna come in a bit. I'm almost done. I'm wrapping it up. Tell them who's your favorite wrestler. Who's your favorite wrestler? Who's your favorite wrestler? John Spear. What about Joe?
Hendry, he's president.
That's from Call Me Mr. Bonda, who hates Joe Hendry. So you love Joe Hendry.
He's president.
Okay, you can't take off my headphones. I'm almost done. You want to finish it up with me?
Yeah.
Tell them to like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
All right. So yes, my match of the night: Speedball Mike Bailey versus Mustafa Ali. My MVP for the show, I'm gonna give co-MVPs for Nic Nemeth, Jordan Grace, PCO, and ABC, the new champions and the retaining champions. I should mention that Nic Nemeth, during his celebration to end the show, Ryan Nemeth and the other champions, Jordan Grace, ABC, and PCO with SDL, came out to celebrate with him. Also, an honorable mention for MVP to Earl Hebner. I agree with I Make Beats. Earl Hebner deserves some love as well. LVP for the show, I'm going to give it to Moose and the system. The whole entire system. They lost all their titles on this show. So, yeah, they deserve to be LVP here. We got Eric Isaac who says match of the night, Ali versus Bailey, MVP Grace, LVP Josh. Show 9 out of 10. Whoa, that's a big rating for you, good sir. All right, I'm saying bye now. We got I Make Beats who says Hendry was funny on NXT commentary, saying Gallus were claiming he wasn't a real Scot now. And finally, you know the deal. We appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Tell them to like, share, and subscribe one more time.
Not sure to subscribe.
And that is Harlem. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. One more comment we'll highlight before we sign things off. He says, yes, sir, it's a subjective art form. I'm a work rate guy. So, yeah, I can watch the flagship shows live. So I'll definitely pull up THH fam. Yes, join us on the weekend. This week's True Hill Heat. I'll be back next Sunday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern time with the True Hill Heat flagship podcast, moving from Saturday to Sunday because we all got lives, we all got different schedules. So we're moving from Saturday to Sunday next week. So join us for that, where we'll also talk about Slammiversary. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm coming right now. But like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. I will be back tomorrow with Collision Discourse for Harlem. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our TNA Slammiversary 2024 review. We are signing off until next time.